very curious and point out that we're not alone in this universe, in my opinion, and they are visiting us. Let's go to a caller calling into Third Phase of Moon right now. Area code 706. You're live. Tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Hi. I'm calling from Georgia.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I've never really talked to anybody about things that have gone on for me, and so this is like the first time ever. And but I've listened to your show, and some people have come real close in their descriptions to what I've experienced, and so I thought I'd talk about it. In 1970,
you're not the first. Appreciate it, and we're looking forward to hearing your story. You know, I think Third Phase of Moon has this community where sometimes it's a great place to share your story for the first time. I know a lot of people have not even shared their stories with siblings, parents, loved ones, husbands, wives, and they will come on Third Phase of Moon and share it. Incredible. Go ahead, start from the beginning.
I lived in Miami growing up, and my father worked for the government. And when I was a teenager, 1975, I used to. I was interested in astronomy, so I had a telescope, and I used to go out and do star charting and things like that. And one night, I was after I'd come in, I wasn't really done looking at some stars, so I was looking out my window in my room, and I mean, it was really late, like 2 a.m. And all of a sudden, I realized that stars were moving. I saw several pairs of lights, and I mean like 12, 13 pairs moving around, and they split off in twos and went in different directions. And I was fixed to it. I thought, oh, my God, what's the Air Force up to at that point, because I lived near Homestead Air Force Base. After that, 2 came way down in my area, and one went north, and the other one literally came down over where I lived in a matter of seconds. I mean, it moved that fast. It was odd because when it was in way up high, it was a white light, and as it came down, it changed colors several times. It went from like a white to a red to a yellow to an orange, and then to like a blue. And when it came down close enough to where my house was, I saw that it was nothing that I'd ever seen before. And at that point, I started getting a little freaked out. I didn't have time to do much because the next thing I knew, a huge blue light that was so bright, it flooded my room and everything. I mean, just flooded it. And I passed out, I guess, because that's the last thing I remember. I woke up a little bit later from that, and everything was gone and quiet again, and it scared the holy hell out of me. I waited until my mom got up to cook breakfast, and she had the radio on in the kitchen, and when I walked in the room, I heard the news talking about a Dayland police officer had a UFO experience, and he pretty much described the same thing I saw. And it's really hard when you're a teenager to talk to your parents and say, you're not going to believe this. But guess what happened to me last night? So I started asking her questions. Did you guys see any lights? Did anything sound funny to you? You know, did something wake you up in the middle of the night? And I got no, and no. So I started to tell her about it, and she looked at me like, you're crazy, and I decided to just forget it. I left it alone. Didn't want to talk to her about it anymore. I thought I was nuts. A really good friend of mine at school drugged me into a corner and said, wow, we saw things last night you wouldn't believe. And that's when I went, oh, really? What'd you see? And she told me they didn't see one come down where she was. She was further away in town from me, but she saw the lights and them coming down. She said that they moved so fast that you couldn't keep up with them. That's how fast they moved, and it sort of like buzzed over where they were at. They were in a car coming home from a really, really late night out. Since then in my life, I've seen a few other strange things. sometimes, you get the feeling you're being followed. And recently in the last year, I was driving. I used to work on, I live in Georgia now, and I work on a Army base. And as I was coming into work in the middle of the bloody night, something buzzed my car that I can't explain. It was big. I saw the lights. I didn't hear anything, but it came down after me like I thought I was going to die. And I literally slammed on the brakes, and it went over me and then shot back up and took off. So life is a little strange. And I hear people talk about this stuff, and I think, oh, my God, I guess I'm not crazy. I've seen this. It's real. I don't know. I was wide awake when I was driving to work that night. I reported to my boss. And because the military base I work on is huge, and we get weird things flying in there at night sometimes, but there was nothing coming in the base at night, nothing. And I knew that for a fact because I was the lead MP clerk on the base. So I could, verify things, and but that's my story.
Well, incredible, two incredible encounters. I want to ask you this. Since you work on this base, military base, you must see all kinds of, experimental aircraft, drones.
I've seen drones.
I
know the difference between a drone and a plane, and I know the difference between a helicopter and say, a light plane. Yeah, I know a lot about planes. I've seen C-130s, C-141s, Logger Air, the whole thing. I've seen F-16s, F-18s. I've seen hover jets,
What is
I've seen all of it. You can pretty much tell who's what and why.
What did they tell you to...
What? Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, you went in and reported this sighting. What was the protocol after you did this, and was there anything that was a result?
When I went in, I pretty much signed into my post and started my night, and we keep a log of everything that happens, and I was responsible for going over all the logs to make sure they were right and done the right way. Military reporting is like police reporting. It's an exact science, and they have codes, and you must follow steps. I didn't put it directly into the night's log because it didn't happen while I was at work, but I reported it to my captain, and he took note of it, and he made the first calls, and then I made some calls behind him to find out what was in the area, airwise, and they had no traffic coming in or going out. I then called the airport and asked them if they had any weird traffic coming in and out, and they said no also. And we all just chalked it up to, okay, it's one of those. Nobody would ever call it a UFO. Nobody would ever, but it was mentioned, and whatever they did with that information after that, I have no clue. Sometimes if they think something's still up in the air, they'll go after it. They'll call. The base that we're on doesn't have its own jets. You have to go to another base on the east side of Georgia to get them, or they bring them up from Texas. Atlanta has Dobbins, and Dobbins sometimes will fly out and chase things around. So that's how we, look for things if we see them. That night, though, I was working all night, so I don't know if they sent anything up to go look or not. Nobody ever tells you anything after you report things either. They just sort of leave you alone with it.
It's quite interesting. You say you had that feeling that somebody was watching you right before this UFO buzzed over your car.
Yeah.
Do you think you were being followed?
I don't know. I've seen odd things off and on in my lifetime, and sometimes I feel like it's possible. If I'm being messed with or whatever, I can't tell you. I mean, I don't remember. I've never asked anybody to do regression or anything. It would be interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe I'm better off not knowing. I find it really interesting, though, because my father, rest his soul, is now passed away. But he used to work for NASA. He did, the space shuttle program, the booster rockets that fall back to Earth. Those that he designed, he's an architect, and he designed all those chute packing plans for that. And he used to drag me to the base a lot. I'd go on the weekends with him when he was doing stuff. And they also had an office up in Tallahassee that they worked out of, and I'd go up there with them too. And
wow, breaking news right now. We have a daughter of a national hero, American hero, that developed this technology. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool. I spent a lot of time. I got to see some shuttles go up and stuff like that too.
Did you ever ask him the big questions? Did you ask him the big questions, like what he thought about ET?
My dad's the only one I really ever told about it, and he said that he believed me, but there was no way he could tell me what he understood about any of that. But he was always very tight-lipped about everything that he did too. I didn't know what he was doing until after it was, a big deal to everybody. So I don't know. But he said he believed me. So he told me once that he saw something when he was young too, and he never talked more about it. Just left it like that. And when I hear people talking, I think, oh my God.
You got some details of your father's possible UFO encounter that you have in your memory that you could share?
He told me he grew up in Wisconsin, in Chicago.
Well, you know what? Let's stick around. We got people calling in, and we want people to share their stories. We got a caller holding by, area code 402. We want to get to them, but I want to end this show with your father's encounter, and then also go into a little bit more detail about your connection possibly with ET, and maybe some people might have some questions for you. So stick around, all right?
All right.
Unfortunately, my computer just crashed, so I can't access my control panel, but I'm still online, thank God. So we're going to restart and boot up here. And we'll stick to, let's just go straight to your dad's encounter in Wisconsin while we boot up right here at Third Phase.
He lived on a farm near a national forest up there, and he and his brother used to go out on the weekends and hike around and camp out at night and stuff like that. And he told me that on one night they were up and they had a campfire going. He said that they were stargazing, and he said something caught his eye, and it was like coming up from the other side of this big lake that they were at. And it came up on the horizon, and it came up over the lake, and he said they were out in the open. They didn't know whether to be terrified or run, into the tree line. And he told me that it scared him either so stiff that he couldn't move or he couldn't move. He said they were both rooted to the spot. And he said it came up over them and shone a light down on them. And he thinks that something happened to him because he said time moved forward. In other words, they lost time. He said suddenly it's like coming up daylight, and they're still standing there staring up in the sky. Only when they came to, sort of, it was gone also. And he said that when I told him what happened when the blue light and everything, he said, yeah, that's right, the light was blue. He agreed with me about that. And he asked me if I had anything hurting or like bruises or whatever. He said, did something hurt you? I said, no, why? And he said, well, that he had something hurt him. He had several places where he was injured and cut. And he said he doesn't know if he was fighting something, how he got hurt or what. And after that, he and his brother pretty much packed up their stuff and ran for their lives. And he told me he never told anybody because they would have thought he was a lunatic. He kept that to himself completely. I find that interesting because my dad's like one of those really super smart people. He went into the military when he was 17, and he pretty much never went to college. He taught himself how to be an architect, and he took all the state boards for it. Before you had to have a degree, way back when, and he passed them all. And he, before the end of his career, he was like registered in 26 states. I mean, he's really, really smart. And he has an honorary degree from FSU. He used to teach there too. in architecture, and he was like the president of the AI, American Institute of Architects. I mean, and I always used to think, my God, where do you get brains like that? Because I don't have them. I'm pretty smart, but I'm not like him. I mean, it's amazing how smart he was. And it was his opinion that, yes, there's something to it. Yes, we probably have visitors. But he would never. We used to have discussions on how do you think they're getting here, because look where we're at. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and they'd have to come light years, hundreds, millions of light years to get here. And he thinks Einstein was right that you could fold space and time, relatively speaking, and come that way. I'm not so sure he thought wormholes were navigable, but he said he thought it was possible, that we're just little ants and they've figured it out. So.
Wow. Yeah, we watched Interstellar this week, and it kind of basically touched upon those lines of jumping into different galaxies, universes. Hang On for a heavy-duty ride is an incredible movie. If you're looking for a Star Wars razzle-dazzle special effects extravaganza, you're not going to get in this one, but if you're going to want to go in there and look at what possibly it could be like in a black hole and travel out in and out of time. It's the new 2001 of the 20th century. Everybody should take a look at that. I'm hoping I could sign in and get back to the studio here. Well, incredible show tonight, and everybody looks like they're still here. I'm going to get this flash chat back launching. And, stick around. I'm sure we got some questions for you. Can I get your first name and your rank?
My first name and my what?
Military rank.
Oh, I'm Army D.O.D, Department of Defense. And my name is Dorothy. And,
wow. D.O.D calls into Thirdphaseofmoon. I think that's a first.
Yeah.
We've had people.
Isn't that amazing? I know. I've just decided this one time I'm just going to give it just let it out, because it's hard to go through life with your mouth shut, and not talk about it. And it just seems like everybody's talking now. Everybody has a story to tell. And I find that fascinating that, I didn't realize that there were really that many people out there that had experiences with this. And I've never thought about it in terms of agreeing or disagreeing about anything. I just, I wish one would just come down in broad daylight in front of everybody and get it over with. If they're there, they should show up more or something, When I was a young woman, I tried really hard to convince myself that I was dreaming. But it's too vivid in my memory. I mean, I remember every little teeny-weeny detail. There's no way that was a dream. None,
We've had some incredible encounters ourselves, just, and seeing and beholding of what's going down. There's just no explanation of what you're looking at. And then you want to kind of go back and say, well, it could have been a trick of light or a star. But then you're like, no way that could have been anything. Something that unidentified.
But I know I've met some astronauts in my day, and I know that there are a couple that are very verbal about what they've seen and things that they've seen.
Yeah, we've actually spoken via a good connection. Dr. J. Andy Elias connected with Edgar Mitchell on behalf of Thirdphaseofmoon, and we had Edgar Mitchell, sixth man on the moon, third mission to the moon, and he came on the show. He's a big believer that we're not alone. Again, the phones are lining up, but wow, more information. Can you tell me about some of the astronauts you met, about what their beliefs in UFO?
They all pretty much, you'd be surprised, pretty much every astronaut or pilot or whatever has seen something. They don't talk about it openly because jobs can be lost. I know that Buzz Aldrin talked about it a lot, and so did Neil Armstrong. Buzz Aldrin's very verbal about it. Wish you could get him on. It'd be interesting to hear what he'd have to say publicly. They've seen moving objects. They've seen craft, things like that. I mean, it's not a joke. Every time NASA gets an interesting picture, and you're right about this, they subvert so much information. It's unbelievable. they'll like, it's hard to them to say yay or nay or what they think. I know that they've got telescopes everywhere. I mean, come on. I know that our government knows a lot more than it's talking about. It's in the military. If you're at work and you're on duty and you see something and you report it, you're in danger of being debriefed to the point that they decide to let you go. You know,
or demoted into some kind of job that's not fun anymore.
Exactly. So you learn in military life to just shut up. Don't talk about it. And the ones that do, they're out and they're very far away from it and they can't be, bugged about it anymore. And I know the guys that I saw it not too recently. In England they had that big one on base and everybody got a close look at it, and one guy wrote down the symbols that he saw on the side in his notebook. That I found really interesting. And
what I find interesting as well is that the FAA pilots are pretty much the number one source to go to for UFO sightings because they're up in the air. There's so much air traffic around the world; it's unbelievable.
Oh, I know.
And in the United States, the FAA won't even accept UFO sighting reports. They'll refer them to Bigelow Aerospace. Well, now basically Bigelow Aerospace is taking that information and pretty much shelving it. It really goes nowhere. So it's really interesting and amazing that the D.O.D, Department of Defense, just reached out to Third Phase of Moon and shared some information. An experience. There's nothing top secret going on here. It's just people see UFOs and they're reporting it right here at Third Phase of Moon. Stick around real quick. I want to get to a caller that's been waiting around here for a while. Area code 402. You're live, Third Phase of Moon. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Travis Burge.
Hey, Travis, to the show.
When I was younger, I saw 3 lights and they were connecting like a triangle. Then I woke up. I had like flashbacks. I could see the future. Then I was telling my friend recently, and he works in Iowa with satellites, and he told me the same day he saw 3 things that were going faster than the speed of light. And I was saying, really? You got to be joking me. And he's like, hell to the no. And I was like, okay. Then it was freaky. And then I was telling my mom, and she said when she was a child, she saw one, even though she was planning on going to the Air Force. And when she was in the Air Force, she saw one fly by her plane. I was like, nope, that can't be real. Then I saw your show yesterday, and I was like, okay, something's messing with me. Then I read a song because I'm Mormon. It says, hi to Caleb, and it says there's no end to race and no end to religion. And I was saying, there's aliens, and what else is out there?
Well, we're just speaking, it's ironic, we're speaking about Mormonism, and John Smith was apparently possibly visited by extraterrestrial. So you're watching Third Phase of Moon, and you wanted to, share some of your experiences. You sound pretty shaken up about them.
I am, and so, yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for sharing your story right here at Third Phase of Moon. Appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to contribute? There's a person that just called in, part of the D.O.D, Department of Defense. You say your mom worked for the Air Force, and
yeah.
What's your mom's belief in extraterrestrial, and was there any kind of insight she could have gave you while working?
Everybody thinks she's crazy, but when I was out there, when meeting with my mom last, she said sometimes they don't want to be seen, and sometimes they do want to be seen. And
think the power of interdimensional beings is logical, and it's theoretically possible. Mathematically, it could be done. Bending light is not fantasy. It's just we just don't have the technology. Go ahead. Sorry.
And, like, I have a gift because of my mom. I can see the future. Like,
Wow,
they say there's mutants out there, and sometimes there's not. So, like, I'll give you one experience that I had. I was walking, because I'm from Omaha, I was walking by a bar, and I saw one car stop, and one car that went past the red light, and they collided, and I was like, this is messed up.
Can you tell the future about anything that's relevant that we could maybe post the date right now? It's 11/14/2014. Can you give us a foretelling future of what's going to happen that nobody knows about that's going to be coming up in 2 weeks from now, let's just say?
Not really. It comes and goes. So,
well, it's interesting. I think the world is in a matrix, and it's a possibility that there is this repetition of loopage, and sometimes people have that tendency, that signal that they could pick up, that they're sensitive, and they could sense a glitch in the matrix and foretell a possible event that might be happening in the future. It might have to be big to be sensitive for people to pick that up. Let's go to another caller. Area code 818. You're live, Third Phase of Moon. Go ahead.
I don't know what's going on right now. Can you tell me what is going on? I just called in like a couple of minutes ago.
Well, yeah, you're talking.
Oh, yes, I heard a call from, what's that state called again, Mom? Utah. Oh, yeah, the Utah? Oh, God. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, the Utah?
Yeah, from Utah. Put the volume low, Mom. Put the volume low. I'm calling into the radio station, Mom. Hello? Sorry about that. My mom's talking to her friend. Anyways, yeah, I watched your show on the YouTubes, and I'm pretty impressed by the UFO footage.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon. Make sure you don't get in trouble. Say hi to your mom, and also keep your eyes on the skies and have a video camera ready. Post your UFO videos to YouTube if anybody captures them, and then easily send us the link via Third Phase of Moon. All the links are below in the description when we post this up on YouTube. Let's go back to some of the callers, and if there was any questions, let's see if Elizabeth has a question for our guest from the Department of Defense. Go ahead. I think we lost Elizabeth, but I wanted to give one last word to the caller that's pretty much going to make the headlines on Third Phase of Moon YouTube tomorrow in regards to contact and people wanting to share their stories. Go ahead, area code 706.
Okay. Basically, I don't know. I think that we're like real close to finding out a lot more about what could possibly be going on for all of us. I do have that feeling, and I know that you think about the public and how people can panic and do strange things. I mean, War of the Worlds played and people were like freaking out. I don't think our governments or the world governments know much as some people think they know. I think they're just as baffled by everything as it is. I don't know how much contact they would have had or not had. I have never spoken to anybody in any capacity working for the government that has talked about things like that. I do know that there is an unspoken rule, and that is if you see something, get as much information about it as you can. Try to get pictures, recordings, anything, and immediately report it. They're interested also. I mean, I'm sure they're looking and listening too. They wouldn't go to the extremes that they go to now to put things up to listen and look, you know. And I really think that it's coming. We're going to find out. there's more to the story. Let's put it that way.
Hey, thanks again. If definitely, if you have any more encounters, and and just want to call in, appreciate you joining us right here at Third Phase of Moon for sure.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Hey, let's get to another caller. We've got a few more minutes. Area code 801. You're live, Third Phase of Moon. Welcome. Tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, hi. This is Steve. I'm calling from Salt Lake City.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Last month I had a sighting on my lunch break from work. I was driving down the road heading south, and I had seen what appeared to be an airplane heading west. And it was way far away, and I had stopped at the light, and it was as it went along, it just disappeared, and there was no clouds. And so I was like, no way, And then when I went home that day, it was all over Facebook and whatnot, and the local news station here had even reported it, that some sort of meteor or something had came down from the sky over Provo, Utah, and for several hours, maybe like 3 hours, people had seen like 3 or 4 white dots in the sky. They said maybe there were stars, but you can't see stars in the day. And the Weather Service even admitted that there was no balloons in the sky or anything. So that was the sighting that I had. That was last month.
Wow, cool, man. Let me tell you, what made you intrigued enough to look up in the sky? What caught your interest?
I've just always been interested in like the UFOs or whatnot. My father had an experience in his life or whatnot when he was camping. He had actually seen something, a star going across the sky, and then immediately shoot straight up. And I don't believe he would ever lie about something like that. So I've always been into it all my life, and I didn't think it was one till I got home, and then I realized, hey, a lot of people had filmed this.
Hey, while we're on the show and we've got a few minutes left, it's interesting that we have, sons, daughters, speaking with their parents, mothers and fathers, and both having experiences through different sets of a generation set apart. Can you tell me your father's experience very quickly?
Well, that was just it. He was up camping, and they were just out watching the stars and whatnot, and it just went across the sky and then shot straight up on a right angle. Like, I guess you call that a fast walker or whatnot, but that's just what it was. So I always believed in it. And what he told me, I've been into it all my life, so I'm always watching the skies and whatnot. So.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Third Phase of Moon over there in Utah, and definitely keep your eyes on the skies. Have a camera with you next time, and keep in touch. If you see anything again, call in any time.
Oh, for sure. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Hey, thanks a lot. Any last words? Elizabeth, did we get you back? Third Phase of Moon Radio. Incredible show. Well, I thought when Majestic 12 Tony Moreno called in and claimed he was the leader of Majestic 12, turned out it wasn't a man who claimed he was. We're hoping it was a real deal. Johnny Elias studied some facts and turned out maybe it wasn't. Maybe most likely he was an MJ-12. We invite Tony Moreno maybe to come back and see if he could really prove that he is the leader of Majestic 12. We're looking for access. We want to share it with the world. And then over there in Georgia, Department of Defense called in, shared their stories, active member. Wow, this is an incredible show, Third Phase of Moon. Sharing your stories right here is sharing it with the world. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. We're not alone. Play cousins.